and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating piece of audio, a recent recording that gives us a snapshot of life in Ambridge, the fictional village from The Archers. It's packed with, everything, community events, personal stuff, local problems. Our job today is basically to unpack all these different threads. We'll be looking at things like sponsorship for the village fete, which gets surprisingly complicated, and also the impact of crime on the local pub, the Bull, plus some really personal questions about family, identity, loss. It's quite a mix.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how these things that seem separate actually, connect. We'll be pulling out insights that maybe aren't obvious at a first glance, showing how they touch on bigger themes like how communities handle change, how resilient they are, and how tricky navigating tough conversations can be.
Right. So maybe a starting point for you to think about is this. How do those traditional community values, the way things have always been done, how do they mesh with modern business opportunities? And what happens when, things get disrupted unexpectedly? Okay, let's get into it. So first up, this big thing, the Ambridge Fete. And the surprise is this new sponsor, Grey Gables. We hear about Drain from Grey Gables, and he sounds, pretty high-powered. Apparently, he's organized these huge international galas, like sold-out events.
Right, and now he's offering that kind of big league expertise to a small village fete.
Which immediately flags up this tension, doesn't it? How do you get the money you need without sort of selling the soul of the event?
Exactly, and you see that straight away with Linda. Her reaction is very cautious. When Drain's background is mentioned, she says something like, on the surface at least, and adds, one can always ask for more. That's not just her being careful. It really shows that classic dilemma. Needing resources versus protecting what feels authentic is more actually better if it changes the feel.
Yeah, and they definitely needed help. The FET committee was struggling. We hear they still hadn't confirmed the Holton Silver Band, notoriously hard to pin down, apparently.
And the cost of things like a carousel, a helter-skelter.
Big attractions.
Yeah, big traditional attractions. They'd looked into them before, and the cost was a major sticking point. So this is where Grey Gables comes in with this, really comprehensive offer. They're basically saying they'll cover the upfront booking fees.
Which is huge.
Massive. And they guarantee all the proceeds still go to the charity. Plus, they're offering their marketing team to push it on social media.
Wow. That could really widen the reach, couldn't it? Beyond just the village.
Absolutely. So on paper, it looks like a perfect solution. Takes away all the headaches.
So there's always a but, isn't there? There was this clash of visions. Linda's picturing, the absolute classics, donkey rides, a musical steam organ, proper old school English fete.
Right, pure tradition.
Whereas Drain's talking about a heritage style fete.
It sounds a bit more, maybe, curated.
Yeah, he mentions quintessentially English wooden stalls, kind of like you see at a Christmas market, for local businesses to sell things. So a different vibe.
Definitely different. And you can almost track Linda's mindset shifting very slowly. First, she admits it's an impressive offer. Can't deny that. Then as she kind of gets Drain's vision, she moves to thinking, okay, this could work out quite satisfactorily. You can hear the hesitation.
Yeah, the satisfactorily is doing a lot of work there.
It really is. And finally, when she's asked if she's happy to proceed, it's this very hesitant, quiet, I think I might be.
Like she's still convincing herself?
Exactly. It's not exactly ringing enthusiasm. It shows how carefully she's weighing the convenience against, the cost to the character of the fete.
And even after agreeing, she still has this nagging worry. She tells Stella, easier is not always better. And she insists she needs to supervise everything personally.
To keep that essential character.
Right. For her, it's clearly more than just organizing an event. It's about protecting the community's identity in a way.
And that's what makes this so interesting. It really spotlights that balancing act. You need the support, maybe even the modernization. But how do you take it without losing what makes the event special? When does help start to feel like it's taking over? It's a question lots of communities face.
Okay, so moving from the fete planning, the sources also paint a much darker picture elsewhere in the village. Things happening at the Bull, the local pub. And this isn't just about business. It feels more fundamental, like a breach of security.
Yeah, it sounds quite unsettling.
We hear about cars being vandalized in the car park, including Kenton's, and then this really awful incident with a tortoise being harmed.
Gosh.
Yeah. It clearly leaves Jolene and Pip, who run the pub, feeling very insecure. You can hear the worry.
Understandably. So what's being done about it?
Well, the official side involves a crime prevention officer. They've apparently put a priority marker on 9999 calls from the pub.
So faster response, hopefully.
Hopefully. And on their end, Kenton's ordered new security cameras.
Practical steps.
And he and Mick are doing more patrols of the car park themselves, trying to be more visible, I guess.
Trying to reclaim that sense of safety.
But the sources suggest there's a deeper impact, especially on Kenton. It sounds like he's not handling it well.
Oh. How so?
Jolene mentions he was attacked in the car park at some point, but he just refuses to talk about it.
Shutting down.
Completely.
Yeah.
Just wants to block it out, pretend it's not happening, which, makes it really hard for Jolene to actually tackle the problem properly.
Yeah, that's a really common reaction to trauma, actually. It's sometimes called avoidant coping. You push it away because facing it feels overwhelming.
But it doesn't actually solve anything.
No, exactly. It can provide a bit of short-term relief, maybe, but it stops you from processing what happened, and it leaves people around you, like Jolene here, feeling kind of powerless, unable to help or even discuss it openly. It's tough.
But then, amidst all this worry, Vince comes up with this interesting bit of information about a character named Marky. Does that name ring a bell?
Marky. Wasn't he involved in that stolen meat scam a while back? From Casey
And
Meats?
that's the one. Well, apparently he's out of prison now, but on license.
Ah, okay. So out, but under strict conditions.
Exactly. Vince points out, 1 foot wrong and he's back inside.
Right. So the thinking is maybe he wouldn't risk causing trouble again so soon.
That seems to be the hope. It's described as a little ray of hope for Jolene and Kenton.
If he is connected to these incidents, his parole status might make him lay low. Or maybe it wasn't him at all. But it's something, isn't it? A potential bit of leverage or relief.
Yeah, a small positive in a really stressful situation. Because the fear is real. Jolene talks about people worrying about parking at the pub.
And for a country pub, the car park is crucial. If people feel unsafe using it.
It could mean a massive dent in our business, as she puts it. It's not just vandalism, it threatens their whole livelihood, the pub, as a community hub.
It really highlights the vulnerability of small local businesses to things like this.
So we've seen these external pressures, the sponsorship dilemmas, the crime wave. But sometimes the biggest challenges are closer to home, aren't they? Those really personal questions about who we are, what our role should be. And that brings us nicely to Stella, and something quite personal she's dealing with.
Right, but before we get to the main point, there are these lovely little everyday details.
Oh yeah, like Linda hunting for a very specific type of strawberry blancmange.
Because a guest remembers the packet version from childhood.
It's funny how specific those food memories can be, isn't it? That taste you just have to recreate.
Totally, and Stella's just looking for some chocolate biscuits at the bowl. Just normal life happening around these bigger issues. We also hear Stella reflecting on her dog, Weaver, who passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah. That was sad.
And she's thinking about maybe getting another dog. It just, touches on that deep connection people have with their pets, the gap they leave.
It does, and that leads into this really quite sensitive conversation she has with Linda. It's about her stepdaughter, Rosie.
What's happened?
Rosie has asked Stella if she can call her mom.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Huge. And you can tell it's really thrown Stella. She doesn't quite know how to feel or respond.
So she talks to Linda about it. What's Linda's take?
Linda's perspective is very, very clear. She draws directly on her own experience.
With her stepdaughters, right?
Yeah. She says they never called her mom, and she was fine with that. She says point blank, I wasn't their mother.
Wow, quite definite.
Very. She says she was very happy just to be Linda. Her boundaries were clear, and that worked for her.
Okay, so how does Stella feel? Does that resonate with her?
Not entirely, it seems. Stella's much more conflicted. She says things like, I don't feel that's my role. But then she also says, not sure what my role is, but I know it's different. So she knows what it isn't, but not quite what it is.
That captures the uncertainty perfectly.
And there's this fear underneath it all about having to act differently if I was mom.
Like taking on a persona or a set of expectations that don't feel right.
Exactly. A reluctance to step into that specific label and all it implies.
So what advice does Linda give beyond sharing her own experience?
Well, her main advice is pretty straightforward. You just have to be honest.
Honest with Rosie, presumably.
Yes. And she also asks this really practical, quite pointed question: does she need a third parent?
Good point. Given Rosie already has two perfectly wonderful parents, as Linda puts it.
It kind of reframes it, doesn't it? Away from just Stella's feelings to also thinking about Rosie's existing family setup.
Yeah, it does. It acknowledges Stella's unique role without forcing it into a predefined box.
And Linda sums it up really well, actually. She says Stella's role is unique to you and to Rosie.
But not at all easy to navigate.
Precisely. It validates both the special connection and the difficulty of figuring it all out.
And that really raises a broader question for everyone navigating modern family structures, doesn't it? How do you handle these situations where the old labels, the traditional roles, just don't quite fit anymore?
Yeah.
And how do you make sure you can talk about boundaries, about what feels right or wrong, openly, without causing hurt or creating unspoken tension? It's tricky.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just pull those threads together again. We've seen this complex dance between tradition and progress with the FET sponsorship.
The push and pull of change.
We felt the real impact of crime, not just financially, but emotionally, on individuals like Kenton and a business like The Bull.
That's Google for security, yeah.
And then these deeply personal, but really universal challenges around family roles, identity, loss, like Stella's situation.
The search for belonging, for defining yourself. And what these stories from Ambridge really show us, I think, is that even though it seems like a quiet village setting, you find these incredibly complex human experiences. They mirror things we all grapple with,
Yeah.
Change, security, identity. These aren't just Ambridge issues, they're human issues.
Absolutely. So we'll leave you with one final thought to maybe chew on. In a world where things are always changing, or challenges pop up from nowhere, how do we find the courage? The courage to be truly honest about what we need, about our boundaries in our relationships, in our communities, especially perhaps when, as Linda said, easier is not always better. Something to think about.
So what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the bull bar. That's,
This one.
yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever